Chingu is a very kind and charismatic boy who gets along well with all his friends. They are a very close-knit group. Until they see Sona, because she is the prettiest girl in the school and also the class president, that's why half the school. He's in love with her, but apparently Chingu isn't that interested. During the first class, he bothers his classmate, and by mistake, they also bother Sona, who screams, and the teacher gets angry. So she punishes all three of them. In physical education class, Sona's best friend wanted to be an idol, so she practiced her dances a lot. But Chingu bothers her and tells her she's very bad. Sona steps in to defend her and asks him not to ruin other people's dreams, that if he's not willing to make an effort, he shouldn't bother others. This is because Chingu was someone who claimed to be good at everything but never proved it. He didn't even try. At night, at his house, we see that his father was always on his side, even though his mother asked him to be more responsible and to take things more seriously. This was because she was the one who worked, and his father was a house husband. The next day in class, a very annoyed teacher arrives and tells them that he will give them a test. Surprised, Sona had forgotten her book, so Chingu lends her his and goes outside as punishment. This surprises her a lot, but she's even more surprised when she sees that in his book it said that Chingu didn't have any dreams. Sona goes to ask him if that's true, and he confidently tells her that it is, because he's a talented guy and he's afraid he might conquer the world if he sets his mind to it. But in reality, it was just an excuse, because the idea of failing terrified him. Remember, those who never try, never fail. Later, Sona gives him her notebook so he can study and better prepare for his upcoming exams. But once again, he seemed not to care. That's why Sona is annoyed that he always has such an arrogant attitude. She tells him that she doesn't respect people who don't make an effort. Because of that, Chingu starts studying, according to him, only because the notes had nice handwriting. But things aren't that simple, especially if it's your first time doing it. That's why he asks his father what the point of studying is. His father, who didn't have the opportunity to study, tells him that it is worth it and that it can completely change his life. So he encourages him not to give up. His efforts are slowly paying off, and besides, this helps him spend more time with Sona. That's why he was trying so hard for the first time in his life. After the exam, we found out that Chingu scored 86 points. For someone who used to only get the minimum passing grade, that was a lot. In the end, his efforts really did pay off. A few days later, some money from the class fund went missing. The teacher was furious and started blaming anyone who had anything extra in their backpack. Chingu got fed up and said he would replace the missing money. This made the teacher furious and he wanted to punish him. Because of that, Sona stands up to defend him. And so that she doesn't get punished, all her friends also stand up to defend her. That way they all get punished, and because of that, they become better friends. Sometime later, they went on a trip. Their final year-end school trip. Chingu and his friends used to tease the spoiled kid in the class, and because of that, he gets upset and tells them to grow up already. Chingu tells him to relax and that it was just a joke. Because of that, they start fighting, and in the end, all three of them are punished. Weeks later, the final exams were coming up. Sona was worried, so she asked Chingu to study every day after class. He teases her and tells her not to be so obvious. If she likes him, she should just say it, but she makes it clear that she doesn't like idiots. With that, they convince him and make a bet. Whoever gets the lower grade will have to do whatever the other says. Sona tells him that if she wins, he has to cut his hair. And he tells her that if he wins, she has to let her hair down. Again, Chingu starts working really hard, not to beat Sona, but because he knew she was afraid to study alone and wanted to keep her company. When he couldn't take it anymore, he would call his father to chop onions in his room. That way he made sure he wouldn't fall asleep. But this time, even though he got good grades, he didn't beat Sona, so as punishment, he had to cut his hair. That day, he walked her home, and for the first time, they had a deeper conversation. He asked her why she tries so hard to study. She says it's the only thing she knows how to do, and she also wants to go to a good university. But she doesn't know anything else. She doesn't have any other goals or dreams. Then it starts to rain, and since they were already wet, they start splashing around. The next day, Sona lets her hair down. She did this because she thought Chingu would like it. This leaves the boys speechless, and Chingu, who said he didn't like it at first, does the same as his friends. He stares at her with his mouth open. The months go by like this until the end of the term arrives. along with a terrible exam that would decide their future. Their grade would determine which university they could attend. After the exam, Chingu and his friends were very stressed, so they went to karaoke to relax. Then, since they didn't have many classes left, they went out to have as much fun as they could. Until the results of their tests arrived, since their time together was coming to an end, they wondered what their dreams were. The curious thing is that Sona didn't really have one. She just wanted to go to college and keep getting good grades, but she didn't really want anything in particular. Then, finally, the results arrived. Chingu did very well. He could go to one of the best universities in the country. But unfortunately, Sona did very poorly. Because of her grades, her options were very limited. Chingu, seeing her like that, tries to comfort her. But since he was clumsy, he confesses that he likes her. She tells him not to say those things. Not at that moment. A few days later, their graduation ceremony takes place. All the students were very excited. Even though Sona didn't get the grade she expected, she wasn't going to give up. She was going to study at a local university to become a teacher. After celebrating, the students say goodbye. Chingu and Sona take one last walk together. He gives her a bracelet as a keepsake. He tells her to wear it at all times, and when she breaks it, her wish will come true. She accepts it, and sometime later, Chingu moved to Seoul and started college there. Sona, for her part, stayed in her hometown to become a teacher. Although it seemed like they liked each other, neither of them said anything. Even so, they tried to keep in touch, but because of the distance, it was very difficult. Luckily, one day she told him she would go see him. When she arrives, they go to have some traditional tea. And the lady tells them they look very good together. When they go out, Sona tells him that she's not as perfect as he thinks, that she has many flaws and some problems. But Chingu didn't care about any of that. However, he thought that somehow she was telling him this so he would stop liking her. That's why he didn't ask her to be his girlfriend. Sometime later, Chingu joined martial arts classes. Since he thought he was a genius, he believed he was invincible. He entered a tournament and invited Sona to watch him. But unfortunately, when she arrived, she saw him badly beaten and down on the mat. When the fight was over, Sona was upset because she thought it was too dangerous. Chingu tells her that it's nothing like that it's a sport like any other, but she doesn't agree. But when they were about to leave, some drunk guys started bothering them. Chingu wanted to ignore them, but when they bother Sona, he gets fed up and starts fighting with both of them, but again, he loses the fight. And this time, Sona was really upset because Chingu was behaving in a very childish way. She tells him that he should act like an adult, but Chingu tells her that's just how he is. He was only trying to be worthy of her. Then he leaves and leaves her alone in the rain. The next day, their friends of the opposite sex had found out about this fight, so they think they have a chance now. Everyone goes to look for Sona, but the arrogant guy beat them all, so one of his friends went to see Chingu, because according to him, he wanted to give him moral support. But the truth is that he was his second option. Afterwards, the two guys go to drown their sorrows, but his friend was very drunk and starts a fight with a very big man. Sometime later, there were new rumors that Sona was dating the arrogant guy. That's why Chingu joined the army. There, he didn't even have time to think about her. Meanwhile, the arrogant guy went all out to win Sona over. But she was still thinking about Chingu. A year later, a hurricane hit the coast, and interestingly, it was near where they lived. Worried, instead of calling his parents, he calls Sona to see how she's doing. She tells him she's fine and that he doesn't have to worry. They begin discussing their unusual relationship. Chingu thought she was dating the arrogant guy, but Sona tells him that's not true. That all this time she's only been thinking about him. Because of that, Chingu gathers his courage and tells her that he likes her. But Sona's phone runs out of battery and she doesn't get to hear the last part. Many years later, all the guys managed to achieve their goals in one way or another. Most of them got the jobs they always wanted, although not in the way they expected, but they were happy anyway. Chingu, for his part, founded a big company because literally that was its name. And he dedicated himself to making fighting sticks. His parents, as always, were his biggest fans. One day, while he was thinking about his high school crush, Sona called him. Chingu thought that now, finally, they could go out together. That now he was finally good enough for her. But it turned out she had invited him to her wedding. Sona had fallen in love with another man, and now they were getting married. All the guys were very disappointed because now any hope they might have had was gone. Chingu, for his part, had matured. And even though he had feelings for Sona, he was happy with the fact that she would now be happy. even if it was with another man. When they take the commemorative photo, one of the guys asks Sona to give them a farewell kiss. To everyone's surprise, she agrees, but with the only condition that they first kiss her husband. Everyone thinks it's a joke, but Chingu throws himself at him and gives him a passionate kiss that lasts 3 minutes. He wanted Sona's kiss at any cost, then his friends do the same. And in the end, we see a kiss between Chingu and Sona. But it's nothing more than a representation of what could have been, but never was, if at least one of them had taken the initiative. They're left with the memory of that high school love. But that's how things turned out. Sometimes it's better to try and lose than to never try at all. And that's how this story ends. I hope you enjoyed the summary. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Diane's first movie. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end, and I'll see you in the next story.